Hello, my name is Rebecca and I'm one of your teachers. Today, you're going to continue learning about conditionals and more specifically about the second conditional. We use the second conditional to talk about hypothetical situations or unreal possibilities, things that we imagine. These imaginary situations may be possible or they could be ideas that are completely impossible. Second conditional in the affirmative. First, let's start with an example in the affirmative. If I lived in the countryside, I would buy a car. As you can see, like other conditional sentences, the second conditional is made up of two clauses, an if clause and a result clause. The structure is as follows. If plus subject plus past simple verb, subject pronoun plus modal verb plus infinitive without to. You can use these modal verbs would, could, and might. For example, if you studied every day, you could pass the final exam. If I won the lottery, I might stop working. Notice that we can use the contracted form of would by adding apostrophe D after the subject pronoun. We can also change the order of the two parts of the sentence and the meaning stays the same. Let's see a couple more examples. If she had time, she'd take a boxing class. They'd speak better English if they studied every day. Second conditional, the negative. We can use a negative in the first clause, the second clause, or in both clauses. Now, let's look at an example in which both parts are negative. If I didn't drive, I wouldn't spend money on gas. The structure is as follows. If plus subject plus did not plus infinitive without to. Subject pronoun plus would not plus infinitive without to. Note that we can use the contracted form of did not, didn't, as well as the contracted form would not, wouldn't. With the verbs to have and to be, we do not need the auxiliary verb do. For example, if we had not missed the train, we wouldn't be driving instead. If they weren't rich, they would have many debts. Second conditional with the verb to be. There is an important rule about using the verb to be in the if clause. We use were for all subject pronouns when talking about hypothetical imagined situations. Were indicates that the situation is not real. Let's see a couple of examples. If he weren't busy, he'd help us. He is busy, so he can't help. In the example above, was may be used, but were is the only choice in inverted sentences. Look at this example. If this was true, it would be very worrying. We can invert the first clause and omit if. If we do this, we must use were. Were this true, it would be very worrying. We also use the second conditional structure to give advice with the phrase, if I were you. If I were you, I'd look for a new job. Second conditional in interrogative. Now, let's look at second conditional interrogative sentences. If you had the chance, where would you go? If you could buy anything, what would you buy? The structure is as follows. If plus subject plus past simple or modal verb. Question word plus would plus infinitive without to. As you can see, in order to form the questions in the second conditional, we can use the question words what, why, who, where, when, and how. Remember that you can start the question with the result clause instead of the if clause, and the meaning doesn't change. Let's see some examples. What animal would you be if you could choose? Who would you help if you had a lot of money? Where would you live if you could live anywhere? Did you notice the punctuation during this grammar video? When the conditional sentence starts with the if clause, we use a comma. When the if clause is last, we don't use a comma. Look, if I were you, comma, I'd watch this video again. I'd watch this video again if I were you. Well, in this class, you have learned how to use the second conditional to talk about unreal possibilities, imaginary situations and ideas, and also to give advice. Keep on working on this unit and consolidate your knowledge by practicing all language skills. If you do it like this, you will learn lots of English.